A few weeks ago, I got a call from my son, Steve, and he said he picked up a bucket of brass from a garage sale for $10. $10 for a very heavy bucket of brass plumbing fittings. I had a proud dad moment. Good on you, Steve. I think you've done well. He moved house recently and this ended up in my ute. Let's go through it and see how much value Steve actually got for his $10. Okay, it's certainly heavy. I haven't weighed it. I don't need to. We'll weigh it up at the end, or at least we'll weigh up what we're going to scrap. A lot of people just don't actually get how much scrap metal can add up, especially the likes of brass plumbing fittings. So we'll go through this bucket. We'll sort it into what's possibly saleable. And I can tell you for a start, the old galvanized bucket is going to be worth at least $10, maybe $15. So money back just on the empty bucket. We'll sort it out because some of these taps are going to be quite usable and we should get better than brass price for them. But all the basic plumbing fittings, I've never had much luck trying to sell them. I don't like keeping too much here, and they add up so quickly that I've found my best return and a guaranteed sale is to put them in the brass bucket. And when we're getting $7 odd a kilo, I'll check the price. I think it might be a bit more than that still at the moment. It doesn't take much to make $7 worth of brass. We're going to get some pretty good value out of this bucket. So we'll go through it, we'll sort it out. I might leave the camera on and speed it up a bit, and we'll pull out bits that we can sell. Brass taps I normally do better than scrap, although it depends what they're like. That one's actually pretty worn in the spindle, so that may just go into the brass. We'll make some decisions. I'll sort it out. I'll be back with you shortly. Okay, first pass, I'm going to just put all the clean brass fittings. We'll have to get our magnet ready because that's got a, oh no it's not. It's actually, I thought it was a steel or galvanized bung, but it's probably a die cast one. It'll come out. Yeah, that's die cast. So I'll just put all the basic plumbing fittings that are just clean brass that I won't be using or selling. They can all go straight into that tub and we'll weigh them up later. Some of them will be chromed, but certainly still brass. If in doubt, check with a magnet. There's some with, that's obviously a new fitting with paper details there. It might have rubber O-rings or something. We'll clean that up later. So then that's got a galvanized bung in it, and that does stick to the magnet. So we will need to separate some stuff to make sure it is pure. And there are some galvanized fittings here, so it's not all clean brass. But the first run, yes, will be just simply to sort the clean stuff and separate that first. Taps we'll inspect later. And that's a piece of gal pipe by the looks of it. Yep. So we'll speed this up while we go through the bucket. Okay, let's tip the rest out on the bench now. And that is a nice willow bucket. So I reckon that's probably, yeah, probably $20 for that bucket. Okay, let's sort the last of these fittings. Okay, next run, we're going to sort things that need a bit of cleaning up. And there's also some pieces of copper and pieces that are clearly ferrous, so they'll go in a heavy steel bin. So that's basically the way we're sorting them this time. There's going to be a few little O-rings and bits of rubbish. So I'll just run through them again, sorting those out like that. Okay, next step, we can clean up some of these pieces of brass that are easy to clean up. So it's just a matter of getting the plastic fittings out of there, and they can go in our clean brass bin. Now these are actually new fittings, never been used. And I have tried to sell these through the shop previously, and people just don't buy these fittings anymore. I guess you can still buy them new, and they're probably pretty expensive, but in my experience, most people just buy the black poly fittings, and to have these sit on the shelf at higher than scrap price, they were just sitting forever. So scrapping is where they're going. At least the brass can be reused for something that's more usable. Okay, we're left with 3 items there that probably need a bit more than just undoing with my fingers. This one could be brass or it could be die cast. These tap handles were made from either and then chromed, so we'll need a file to pick that because we know it's not magnetic. I don't have my good file here, but here's a nice round one. Scratch through the chrome, and it's very silver and it's quite soft. That's definitely a die cast zinc. It can go in with our cast aluminium. Alright, we'll look at those ones a bit later. We'll probably need to put them in the vise and use some tools to take them apart. The next step is just to look at these taps and see what's worth selling as a tap and see what isn't. I'll just scan them pretty quickly. Any that are partly disassembled or very loose or quite rusty or corroded at least, or if the threads are damaged at the back here, I just put in the scrap. I think that one can go straight in the scrap. I do sell taps generally for around about $10 each in the shop, and that one I just checked that on the scales and it's only about $3 worth of brass, so I'm much better off at $10 per tap. But then they need to be presentable and they need to be, you know, saleable. I don't want them sitting there forever. So this one looks pretty good, but rather than just try and get 5 for it, yeah, the top, someone's tried to undo the top with something that didn't fit properly and it's rounded all the corners off. So, yep, it's a defective tap. It can go in the brass. That one looks a bit newer. It's got plenty of Teflon tape around it. So we could probably double our scrap price and get $7, $8, something like that. We'll put that one aside. That one looks fine as well. Can't see any issues there. And same with that one. It's a smallish tap. Will certainly get better than about $3 for scrap price. That's a much older style tap. Yeah, I think that'll still sell as a tap. And this larger one has a big steel reducer fitting on it. Rather than try and get that off, I'm going to just sell that as a tap. So it saves me some labour and will still get better than scrap price. This one's a bit unusual. I'm not sure what it's off. It feels like it's, oh no, it's not seized, but it's fairly corroded handle. I think we can take that part off it. Yeah, look, we might get $5 for that. And it's a very light one. It's not worth much for scrap. We might leave this part on it too, actually. There's not much weight in there. And these gate valves, well, this one looks like it's a new old stock one. It's still got the plastic bungs in it and it feels fine, so we should get 5 for that. And again, these are only small ones. They're only 1/2 inch size. That one's good too, and the gate moves okay, so 5 for that as well. So we're well ahead on our price just on taps alone. So all we have to do now is just clean up these 3 bits and we can start weighing up. We'll start with the small bits first. On the little scales, we've got some pieces of copper. And that's the center shaft from that hot water service valve. It's mostly copper. There is a little spring inside that's very faintly magnetic, but I think I'll get away with that in my number 2 copper. So 52 grams of copper. The other small lot was the cast aluminium or die cast. And there's a couple of little bits of aluminium, which essentially is the same price. So 240 grams of aluminium. I'll switch to the bigger scales to weigh all the bits of heavy steel. Just gel fittings and plugs and stay there. Whoops, there we go. Back on there. And 1 lone wheel nut. Don't know how that got in the plumbing fittings. And we've got just over a kilo, 1.1 kilos we'll call that. And the real money is in the brass, of course. I'm not going to be able to weigh it. It's more than 10 kilos in one tub. So we'll tear one of these off and we'll do it in 2 halves. Let's stop there on 8 kilos for that tub. And the other one should go on now. Just. We're at 9 kilos, so that's a total of 17 kilos of brass. And we can add to our mix all these taps that I'm going to price at $5 each. I did check online, and simple basic brass taps from a hardware shop online is, I didn't see any under about $12, and they go upwards in price from there. Even the small gate valves were $12 plus. And that's, if you buy them online, of course, you've got postage. That's the price at the hardware store, so $5 each they should sell. These ones are much older and they're larger. I think I'll sell them at $10 each. I've had good success selling the old vintage taps. They've got a great old patina. I can clean some of them up, and I will be doing a video on that at some stage. And I did a electrolysis video on that a long time ago, so I'll be updating that video soon. But I reckon there's $10 each there, and I don't have to worry about removing that galvanised fitting off the end for that price. The only other thing we have left is a small pile of rubbish, just all the bits and pieces out of the fittings and some rubble that was in the bottom of the bucket, a few nails and a top of a beer, which can go in the shred steel, one spring which came out of that hot water surface valve, so that can go in with my springs, and that's all we had in the bucket. Let's get the notepad out. Okay, are you ready for this, guys? I guess some of you have been doing the maths in your head and will have some idea. Have a look at this surprising total. $209, over $200 for a bucket of stuff from a garage sale for $10. Now, guaranteed the people that sold it had no idea that there was that much value in it. Admittedly, most of you wouldn't get the extra money for the taps. Most of you probably wouldn't get $20 for the bucket, although I did see one sell on eBay for $35 plus postage. So look, keep an eye out for the good old willow buckets. But even if you pick this up and threw all the brass in the scrap and even threw the bucket into the shred, you're going to get $150. So it pays to have your wits about you when you're at a garage sale. Well done, Steve. So I guess if Steve sees this video, he might give me a ring after a commission, finder's fee, something, or maybe he's just happy to hang around and wait till his old man kicks the bucket. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you in the next video. Bye for now.